So this is going to be difficult for me to do because I feel like it's no way for me to explain it, and I hate that the timing is always near dusk, so I look like a floating head. I'm sorry, I just, that's when I have time to do these vlogs most of the time. Okay, so this, you have to understand why I keep finding myself in these situations. When I was really young, you know, especially, and I needed to be watched. Anytime that my parents got into legal trouble, they'd plot me off somewhere with somebody, and usually that was somebody that that had the same kind of culty, you know, the in on it, basically. I mean, my family, when I was born, I shifted, they immediately thought that I was a devil child because they belonged to a fucking crazy cult. 1500s Abrahamic style cult, and they immediately wanted to kill me. They tried, but I survived things I shouldn't. I survived things I shouldn't because I believe only reason is from protection from the universe, from guides, from guardians, from totems, from a lot of things. So right off the bat, no one believes my story because I've survived things I shouldn't over and over again. And I feel the pain, but I survive. One time it got really close to actual death. I woke up in the drawer of a hospital morgue because they prematurely deemed me dead when I was technically probably still alive. My mother had shot me with some kind of poison, and you know, they did things, a lot of physical things to me, trying to drown me. Every time they washed my hair, I thought it was normal that I had to go under the water and my father hold me until I pass out. I thought that that was normal to wash my hair. You know, it was just your lungs filled with water, you pass out and you wake up coughing, and then he does it again as soon as you wake up. I thought that was normal. As I got older, they didn't want me to remember all that, so they did things a little more secretively. They put poison in my food and water and things without, you know, me knowing what they were doing, because they didn't want me to tell anyone. So the reason why I keep getting caught in these situations is because that's how I grew up. They always got out on bond most of the time because there wasn't enough on them, I guess, to put them in there without bond. The longest time was, I think, over a month that they were stuck waiting to get, at least my father was stuck waiting to get out on bond. So, you know, there's some times where they, like I said, they plot me down in places. A little fucking neo-Nazi friend's house or something. So that culty situation that the Wolf film was based off of, that I talked about. If you want to look that up, you can. I think I still have it up there, if not mistaken. You know, that was the case with that. But sometimes they plot me off somewhere because they want to spy on somebody. And I don't know, maybe as they drop me off there, they attach a camera somewhere. I don't know, a hidden camera somewhere. I don't know, but people that they have a target, and they're one of the people that they want to kill. For whatever reason, a lot of times they drop me off at those people's houses too. They'll sit and wait for days on end. I mean, I was there for probably over a month or so before they finally got everyone together and decided, okay, we're going to kill this person now. They killed a scientist, another kid, and I had run, and that's the only reason why I think I didn't get any bullets in me, because I ran. This is what we're talking about this time is based off of, what we're talking about this time is the true events that Sweet Tooth was based off of. Sweet Tooth had a lot of things in it that were changed. Sadly, I don't have time to go over which things were changed and which things were not changed. I just need to tell you the most important parts, and I'm really sorry about that. I really can't dig in deep to it like I did with you, because it would take too long. There's no way I can go over, 16 episodes that are almost an hour long each. It's one thing to do an hour and a half long, film comparison, but I can't. So I apologise for that, but I will say that the utmost important things, and also things that journalist did not know. At certain points they're shooed away. They're allowed to stay there, for some things, but other things they're not. Especially if they've got an active, say, murder investigation or missing person investigation where they're actively on the premises searching for somebody or something, evidence, that kind of thing. Sometimes they'll ask them to completely leave. And that was the case actually with Wolf. That is why the ending, what I told you, what happened after, with the people that they found, the kids that they found that were dead. If you want to look at that, you can, but this is not what that's about. So, yeah, my father had dropped me off there, said I was going to stay with him for a while, and left. Didn't really explain it to me. He came through the back way, through the fence. He actually did not come. It's right on a road, but he actually didn't come that way. He came through the fence, which is strange. He told the man that he was watching him and basically threatened him, and then walked away. I find a kid that's like me, except he's not stuck as a human. He's stuck in between a human and an animal. He's a shifter, and he's stuck in between. Which is another reason why no one's going to believe me. Why do I do these things? Why am I guided to do these things? When you're pagan, you're guided to do stuff, but it's like, why? Because no one's going to believe me. I wouldn't believe me had I not been there. I really wouldn't. Anyway, so he had kind of just like the film, except for there were no antlers. He had ears and hooves, and basically the scientist was drugging him so he wouldn't run off and get seen by somebody. He was putting it in a syrup, and because he was drugged, that's why the kid died. The day that they came to kill the scientist guy was the day that I was told to get him out of there and wake him up. Well, I couldn't wake him up. So you hear gunshots and I run and hide, and I never saw them kill him, but I just I assume that's what happened, because I ran and they just kept shooting. And I imagine that because he was just lying on the couch not moving, that he would have been a really easy target. So because he was drugged, he couldn't come with me and run with me. And, I couldn't carry him, and I didn't have any time really. I just couldn't think. I just ran at that point. When I go out in the woods, that's when very quickly, actually, because I'm running around and howling, literally howling like a wolf and everything. I'm like 5-ish, okay? That's kind of, at that point, as a Therian, that's what I'm doing. So, I'm obvious. I'm making all this noise, I'm obvious, and they find me. These people are trackers, hunters, but they probably work for the scientist. I don't think they ever work for my neo-Nazi family, because these people seem to want me alive, and if they work for my family, they want me dead. So you got two groups of people: the people who want to kill us and the people who are intrigued by it and want to experiment on us, out there trying to catch us at the same time, basically. And you never know who you're going to run into. So this was the Northwest United States, I believe. I can't be sure, but I think. So, vast forests, a lot of places to hide, long as you're not loud like I was. So it's pretty true to that point. Everything really pretty true to that point. Keep going up to the time where I am telling Big Man, he's saying, I'm screwed. They're not going to believe me. They're going to think that I kidnapped you or something instead of rescued you. And, I don't have the best record in history because of, me working for these scientist people. And I said, look, you've got to tell them the truth. He said, but it's not, he said that nothing is going to work. He says they're going to look at the color of my skin and they're not even going to give me a chance. And I said, okay, if you're damned either way, what is so bad in trying to tell them the truth? If you believe that you're damned either way, then and no matter what you say or do, they're going to keep you there. Then at least tell them the truth. At least that's the small chance that they might let you go if they actually believe you. What you got to lose? The last words to him before they took him into custody was, what do you have to lose? And he was like, you make a pretty good point, actually. So he told them the truth. He said, you're not going to believe this, but basically these kids that can shapeshift, and I found one and I kind of adopted it, I mean, I can't imagine exactly what he said, but they let him go. They let him come back, and meanwhile they're interrogating me as well, asking me what's going on. And I'm saying that he didn't do anything wrong, and really all I want to know is where he is and what you've done with him. So at that point, I'm talking to I'm sitting in the boat. I actually broke it, by the way, and they got really mad at me because it was an antique. I'm sitting in the boat that they had there, and I'm talking to the journalist, telling her everything. And basically, at that point, Big Man's like, we really do need to go to the city. This can't keep happening. We need to be safe, somewhere safe. Start over. Why do I always have to do these things when it's dusk? Okay, so he said, look, we're going to go to the train station. I got to, to trade a few things, but we're going to see if we can't trade enough things to get money to get on a train so that we can get to the city. And so when we get there, he tells me not to try and help him, but I do anyway. And, we really did call each other that. He really did call me Sweet Tooth. And they really did refer to us as a sweet, they referred that to the kids, Sweet Tooth. Okay, so Sweet Tooth and Big Man. It really was what we called each other. It was nicknames that we gave each other. And he was like a dad that I never had. I mean, he cared about me, he loves me, and he just wanted to help. And I think, guy that made some mistakes, but genuinely realized those mistakes. We were sitting and talking about his kid, and that how his kid was like me, and that he was scared, and that he didn't realize that, basically we're the same as them. And he kind of ran, and then he couldn't find his kid, or you know, I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, but he couldn't find her or the kid. And he regretted that mistake. And then, you know, seeing somebody to prove to him that there's nothing to fear, I think made him even regret that mistake further and made him feel guilty. And he thought to himself, okay, well, I fucked up with my own kid, but here's this orphan that really needs help. Let me see if I can't redeem myself. You know, I think that was what he was trying to do. But, you know, because he definitely didn't have to help me. I think he just wanted to. Anyway, so we're at this train station and he just got enough stuff, and all of a sudden, like, I get distracted and want to help him with something, so I think I can help him this way. Won't get into all of that, but basically I got a bit lost and there were these people around that looked really sketchy. And I'm probably exaggerating, but they were like, ooh, you're a young child that's all alone. Do you want to come with me because you're all alone? You know, I mean, it was just like women. I mean, people who you would think would be non-threatening, and that would be good intention when they find, you know, because, you know, most of the time women aren't gonna, you know, like sexually assault any kind of child or anything. But they were looking at me really creepy, and they never did anything to me, but I just, like, no, I didn't trust it, so I ran. And I kept running. And me running caused a commotion of other people who thought that I was running for a reason and tried to catch me. So I ran and ran, and there's this like brick wall thing, and I hear up, you know, and hide behind here. And I didn't know if I should believe it or not, but it sounded like a kid's voice, and I thought, well, I trust a kid over an adult, so yeah, okay. And we hid behind there, and again, she was somebody that was like me. Again, like the kid that died at the cabin. I think she was stuck in between. She couldn't shift. And she brought me to this sort of sanctuary for people like us. And her mom didn't trust me because I was stuck as human, and she thought that I was some kind of spy or something. I really wasn't. Anyway, they take all of us away from her and put us in this sort of dungeony, prison cell-like looking dark place. They did a good job of recreating that because it almost looks the same. So we were in this paradise, and then we took there. She was desperately trying to get us back, and she couldn't. They blamed it on me because, you know, all this shit starts to happen when I get there. I'm taken out to be tested on, and I see the pain that they're giving this other kid that's like on a stretcher looking like table hospital bed thing, and she looks like she's almost dead with how much pain she's going through. And I'm thinking, oh great, I'm next, you know. As the scientist starts to interview me for basic information, you know, somebody, I think it's the police, you know, basically forced their way in with guns and weapons, and, you know, basically, you know, I think it was the police arresting these people. I really do. So, anyway. I was returned back to Big Man, and you know, the thing that I tried to help him with, I thought I was doing a good thing, but you know, in essence, I just made things 16 million times worse. I had traded his pills for money, and it still wasn't enough to get on a train. And at that point, he was just like, fuck it, now I'm out of pills. Great, you know, I have pain issues, I've got a limp, and I'm addicted to pain meds, and We don't even have enough fucking money to go out, you know, on the train. So, you know, basically I try to correct my mistake, you know, by trying to get his pills back, and that's when I got lost. So he finds out how to get his pills back or something, but we still don't have enough money. So he said, okay, look, about the only thing we can do now is see if we can make a deal with somebody, maybe, I don't know. And maybe they'll fly us out of here. So he seems to trust these people. I don't. These people with the plane, I don't trust them, but we trek a really long way across a lot of land to get there, until we get to this field. You know, so we're at this field, the plane lands, and then they shoot him. He actually, one of the bullets would have hit me, but he jumped in front of me. He was the only true hero I think I ever saw, and he didn't deserve to die. Sorry, I get emotional sometimes when I talk. You know, what he said when he was taking his last breath, I thought I could still save him, and I knew it looked bad, but I was young and I was full of hope, and I thought he would make it. You know, he was saying, you know, all my life I'm looking for purpose, and I know what my purpose was. I was meant to protect you. He said, well, now I protected you, and God's gonna reward me, and I'm gonna get to live in paradise, and I won't be in pain anymore. And he was saying all those things, and I'm like, no, you better not die. You know, I need you. Please. It was really sad because he had a really bad life. He did not deserve. And he was happy to die because he had way too much pain, physically, emotionally. And he thought it was a reward to die. Run into a house, and they fucking swear it's the same house that owns that plane, because, you know, trying to save him. And I blamed it on myself. I wasn't fast enough. I hesitated. I was already blaming it on myself, and I'm like, help, this person's dying. And they just looked at me. It took me so long to get there. I had to run through this gigantic cornfield and everything, and it took so long to get there, and they just stared at me blankly with rage and hatred, and didn't even want to talk, just silent. But I knew that they hated me, and I didn't know why, and they looked like they were about to kill me. And so I went to a different house. I said, please, you need to help him. And they said, we'll call 911. I'm like, no, you need to actually physically go out there and help him. I don't know what to do. Like, you must know what to do. And they're like, well, just because we're adults, we don't know how to help him. We're just going to call 911 and wait for 911. So they didn't even try to help him. They just sat on their fat asses and waited for 911. They didn't even fucking try to, you know, maybe, I don't know, make a tourniquet for him or something. Something simple. No, they didn't even try. In fact, I don't even think they believed me. But they called 911. We went out there. And I said, do something, help him. You know, and these paramedic people were just kind of standing over him, looking at him, bending over, looking at him. I'm like, fucking help him. You know, he's about to die. And they're like, we can't help this. There's no way that we can save him. I said, well, I don't care if there's any way you can save him or not save him. You should at least try, you know. And what I didn't know back then was, you know, there's a certain point where someone's already dead and they just were too kind to tell me. So, anyway, yeah. The sequence of all that, of the kids and the police finding out, and I hope that if they find me, I hope that they find the rest of those kids, because it was technically two different places. The place where we were kept and the place we were experimented on were two different. Anyway, so the police talked to me a second time, and I still think that they can help Big Man, and they have to explain to me that he's dead. So I just learned that my best friend is dead. And the only person that cared about me, like ever, except for maybe my granny, is dead. And, you know, like what we did, didn't we just talk to you before? Didn't we just talk to you before? So yeah, they found out the scientists, but now they want to find the other people that are after him. And I tell them everything that happened, and they said, well, that's not enough information, so we want to know where, in the beginning, how did you even meet Big Man? I said, oh, well, it was because I ran from this cabin because they killed this guy, and they were shooting guns, and I ran, and Big Man found me. He was like, well, you fucking failed to mention that before, you know? And, well, I said, well, you know, I told you, like, I was lost in the woods, and he found me, and my parents abandoned me, like, I told you all that. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't fucking tell us that a fucking man died. And a child with, you know, I tell him what the child looked like. What the man looked like. And, you know, as I'm explaining what they look like, I'm saying, you're not going to believe me. You're going to think I'm making it up, but I'm not making it up. He had, like, deer ears and feet, hooves. And he said, no, actually, I believe you. I said, really? Because every time someone tells me that they believe me, they don't. They lie. And they just say that. I'd rather you just tell me the truth. He says, no, actually, I really actually believe you. The journalists might not believe you. Other people you tell might not believe you, but I believe you because basically we're the same. You and I are a lot more alike than you might think. Different but the same. He said, you are a shapeshifter just like I am, but you're, and actually I've never seen this before, but you're actually a combination of predator and prey. You know, most of the time we think predator is bad luck, but you're actually like a strange combination of both. I'm just prey, so we're different but the same. And I said, well, prove it then, like turn into an animal or something, like prove it to me that you're not just making this up. My entire life people have lured me into situations trying to get me to trust them and then hurt me. So fucking basically, you know, that's not what I said, but that's what I was thinking. How can I trust that your intentions are pure what if you're just trying to get me on your side so that, you know, I don't know, like later you can hurt me, you know, I don't know. So I didn't trust him at all at that point. Actually, it turned out to be a really good person. But, yeah. So they basically kept me in social services until they could get updates, and then they would interview me again when they got updates. And so, you know, the next time that I talked to him, well, the first time he said, look, we don't know where this cabin is. Can you tell us? I'm like, no, I don't fucking know. Like, my father just dropped me off at a fence. And I think they were able to connect the dots between who Big Man was previously affiliated with and where they were located. That location where they were hunting those people and those kids was actually really close to the cabin. So this scientist, this disgraced scientist that probably got into a lot of trouble legally, was hiding out in the woods, continuing his work out in the woods, off the grid. And unfortunately, these neo-Nazi people got to him first. And basically, you know, he was probably doing a lot of unethical things, I don't know. They had to find that cabin. So I think, like I said, they finally found the location of it. They took me there. I said, yes, this is the cabin. You know, and the journalist keeps saying, okay, well, you know, there was no man. They didn't find a man. You know, and, you know, they didn't find a child. Especially not one with, you know, goat ears or whatever. So the journalist was all like saying, you know, well, I do believe you, but I don't. And then the police officer was saying, well, no, we didn't find a man near the cabin, but we found a man way, way, way out in the woodlands. Well, I said, well, that's not where he died. He died really close. Like, he died, like, you could walk there from the cabin to where he died in like less than 5 minutes. He said, well, we found him way out there, like way out there. Are you sure that this is the same cabin? And I'm like, yes. So eventually, you know, he's saying, well, we don't know where the kid is. You need to tell us anything you know about the kid, please, because, like, you know, we believe you, he exists, but we cannot find him, and he must be in a lot of trouble. We need to find him, you know, if he's even still alive. So as far as I know, they never find the kid, but I did some visionary work later, and that's why I think he died, through what I found out in visionary. And who knows, maybe they did find him after a long time after. But whatever happened to that kid, I think it was really bad, and someone tried to hide the aftermath really good, because he wasn't just an ordinary person, he was different, and they didn't want anyone to know that that existed, you know. And I think they probably killed him in a lot more brutal way as well. Probably, you know, didn't just shoot him, they probably did a lot more to him than that, at least to his body. So anyway, I won't get into that, but you know, I was telling him, look, I don't believe you, and he finally said, well, this is why I cannot show you. You know, if I showed you that I could shift, we'd be right. That's the entire reason that we're here that I am here in the beginning. Okay. Someone was very selfish. She knew better. She was supposed to come home to have the child, and she didn't. She stayed with him. She loved him too much, and she stayed with him. And he saw the child was different, and Now people know we exist. And it has taken this long, and we are still, years later, trying to fix her mistake. That is why I cannot show you. At that point, you know, the ferocity and the emotion made me believe that he was telling the truth. That, you know, I could trust that he really was like me, you know, in some way. And I began to trust him a bit more, but I didn't fully trust him. And so, you know, he's talking about this like she's evil, and I'm thinking, well, she just loved him, you know. And he's like, no, she knew what would happen. She knew this would happen. It wasn't a mistake. She knew that if people found out, this is how they would react. They would kill us for one reason or another. You know, so I stay at social services that, you know, just stay there. This place, I guess, I don't know whether it's an actual orphanage, but a place where kids stay. And I got really depressed, and one day I told him, he was trying to ask me something new, and I told him, I don't want to stay here. It makes me really sad. He said, oh, well, what's bad about it? You know, you get free food and people take care of you. And because I'm dark energy, I think I literally got depressed because it was always really bright in there. And I hate bright light. And that's the only thing that was in there was bright light. And so I went, it's always, the light's literally always on, always. Like, even when we sleep, I think the light was on. I can't remember, but it was like always fucking on. It was, the windows, the light from the windows in the day just made it even worse because they were gigantic windows. And I said, I want to be somewhere in a cave, underground in the darkness. That's what I said. Where there is no light. That's exactly what I said. And I had no fucking clue what I had just said. None. All that I knew is I didn't like the light. But he must have thought, maybe, I don't know, that I knew more than I did. I didn't. It was just a coincidence of words. He said, okay, actually, I'm going to take you somewhere. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to take you somewhere that most people don't get to go. It was like this, I don't know whether it was a bunker. Probably was a bunker. But it was set up almost like a catacomb. It had a lot of stones in it and things in certain areas, and in other areas it looked more modern. It had red lights, and when you walk through an area, a little beeping noise would come on, I guess, to let people know someone's walking in. And the red light would come on. And right before we got to that place, when the red light came on, right as we were entering, he said, we can be ourselves down here. And you see the backs of them as they're walking, and you see, you know, all of a sudden that there are horns that weren't there before, and their faces look sort of halfly animalistic. And I'm thinking, well, why didn't I thought it was the light. I didn't think it was them doing it. I thought it was light. I'm like, why the fuck am I still human? Why do I look the same? Why me again? You know, that's just what I thought. You know, I thought, you know, why am I always stuck as human? Why? You know, but it was just because they consciously, you know, actively shifted. It had nothing to do with the light. I fucking hate sunlight. It's morning. Let's get this let's just get this over with. Okay, so I started out with, where'd I leave off? Last night we were talking about the little catacomb type bunker thingy. Okay, so there's this plant over there, you know, kind of up against the wall, sort of, with a light on it, and this lad had just finished putting a fake skeleton there. He said, hopped off of it real quick and said, yep, it's done, it's good, I did it, you know, kind of nervous. I can't think, it's too early to even think. Nervously. Okay. Haven't even had morning tea yet, man, it's just too early. Okay, so, yeah. And he said, well, it took us so long because, you know, like, we didn't want to, like, hurt any of the stems or the roots or the leaves. And there was a life-size fake skeleton that they had to put in there. And so it was part of the test, right? So he's testing two different things, my intent and whether or not I can sense the energies, basically whether or not I can hear the voices of nature, whether or not I have a connection to nature, basically. And so the first part is the intent part. And so he says, okay, so this flower is really special. Every flower on here actually is poisonous except for one. But the one that's not poisonous, actually, it brings you immortality. It can heal any wound. And so that is why this lad, like many others, die in its wake. They pick the wrong flower and they get poisoned and they die. But it's worth it to them because they're selfish and they think that maybe they'll pick the right one. Countless people have died picking the wrong one, so here, I want you to pick the right one. I'm like, what? No. I don't want to fucking die. I don't care about fucking immortality, you know. And he's like, well, we're going to stay here as long as we need to. And I've heard that before, and usually that means that they're going to punish me and severely hurt me because of what my family used to do. And it's not worth the pain. It's like, okay, well, do I want a bunch of pain for hours on end? Or do I want to die in probably minutes with only a few minutes of pain? Flower, please. You know, so at that point, I chose the flower because he wasn't going to do anything to hurt me, but because of being abused, I thought he was going to. So I was so afraid I was going to pick the wrong one that I started to pick the right one, and then I, like, did this and, like, wait, no, and then started, like, you know, he said, let me give you a hint. Don't second guess yourself. So I went back to the first one, picked it, and he said, okay, so, you think you picked the right one? I was like, no. He's like, how do you know that? Well, like, there's hundreds of them. Duh. He's like, actually, you did pick the right one, but it doesn't matter, does it? Because none of them are poisonous. So I wanted you to pick the one that wanted to be picked. It's an energy. It feels threatening or it feels inviting. If it feels threatening, it wants to be left be. And you picked the one that felt inviting, so congrats. But why did you do this? I mean, why did you thought you were going to die? Why did you do this? And I told them, well, I'd rather die quickly than die slowly. And you were going to kill me, weren't you? So, yeah, I'd choose quick. And he was kind of shocked by that. He said, well, that's not what, no one told you we were going to do that. I said, well, yeah, I've heard that before. Just because no one tells you doesn't mean it's true, does it? So, anyway, I'm all beside myself being like, okay, seriously, like, fucking when do I die? And he's like, really, you're not going to die? Let me prove it to you. So he starts taking, he said, we're all going to eat this. He starts taking little pieces, like, I mean, breaking it off, tiny, like, a third of a petal. I mean, and those petals are tiny, so it's like teeny tiny, I mean, needle thin. And I'm like, yeah, right, like, that little tiny bit isn't going to poison you. That you're too big and that's too little. He says, okay, then, how much do I need to eat to get, how much do you think do I need to eat to get poisoned, since you know everything? I said, well, at least like one flower, or maybe 2 or 3. I mean, like, you know, I mean, this little tiny thing, it's like, you can barely, like, see it from, I mean, like, you take you step back a few steps and you go like this and you can barely see. I mean, it's that tiny, you know. So I just instinctively thought it was like my father, you know, taking that glass, sip, what he would do to try and get me to drink the poison. Before there was poison that I could not detect, he would give me poison that tastes funny. And my father would drink it, fake swallow, you know, tastes good, doesn't bother me. But he wouldn't actually drink it, or he'd drink very little, like I said. So I'm looking at, okay, this is the same way that my father acted when he tried to force me to drink poison. So I know it's poison. You know, if you really want to prove to me it's not poison, then eat the whole fucking flower. Because that's something my father would never do. He would never drink the whole glass. So you eat the whole flower, and then I'll believe you. And everybody's like hovering around him. And these few ladies in the front get really mad at him. You know, they're older ladies, so, you know, I'm sure, you know, living that long in a society where no one usually breaks the rules, probably, and seeing him doing something unimaginable, you know, he just shoves it in his mouth and swallows the entire thing. And they basically are calling him things like pig and all that. It's like, that was meant for all of us. Like, you just had 45 doses, you know, basically for almost 50 people, and you've like swallowed it all. Like, very selfish, right? Is what they think. Okay, like there's no reason for that. You know, you just swallowed it all. You know, we're supposed to share that among all of us. You know, and all this commotion is attracting the elders to come. You know, they hear this commotion and they're like, you know, I don't know how long they've been there, but they're definitely observing and watching as this is happening. And when he puts in, the very second he puts it in his mouth, it's like the very second a heroin addict, you know, puts a needle to their skin. I mean, it's the very second, you know, any addict starts to smoke something, snort something, inject something, it's that look. It's that look, that addiction, you know, look. And I mistook it for greed. And so that's all I needed, was to look in his eyes. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's, you know, he's one of those people that he tells me not to be. You know, one of those, you just did this entire, like, preaching on how not to do what you just did. How not to be selfish. And you just fucking ate it, you know. So, okay, yeah, now I believe you that it's not poisonous. Because, you know, obviously you're not gonna eat it if it's not. So, yeah, I believe you about that now. But, like, you just, now you apparently, you know, are just as selfish as, because the look in your eyes. If he didn't have that look in his eyes, I would have probably trusted him. I probably would have. You know, to a certain extent, you know, he knew what to expect. To a certain extent. And if it really was Barrenwort, the entire fucking flower is probably going to eventually make you sick. It's not going to kill you, but it's going to make, especially if you're sensitive to it, it's going to make you, or if you really don't need it, it's probably going to make you sick, okay? So, you know, it's just like, within this, I don't know how long, finally the elders are like, who told you could do this? Who told you? Who gave you permission? He's like, look, it's not what it looks like. I'm testing her. Look, like, you know, like, if you weren't here before, I'm testing. I can explain. He's like, well, that doesn't constitute, I mean, no one told you could do this. He's like, yeah, I know I broke the rules, but for a good reason, trust me. And he's like all freaking out, right? And, you know, at that point, I'm just like, I don't know, I'm pissed, I'm enraged. I thought that each individual flower was its own spirit. I didn't know that it was just a part of the plant, like trimming someone's fingernail. I thought it was like alive even after you picked it. I was too little to know the difference. So when he shoved it in his mouth, I thought he was killing something, killing an entire plant. and I saw that entire plant equally to like someone I would see a puppy. So he might as well just eaten a puppy right in front of me. And so, you know, because I saw it like that, I cupped it in my hand and said, no one's getting this other one. I ran with it. And about the time I was running, I heard someone say, I feel her pain. No, physically. She's going to kill everyone. Someone stop her. So I have this gift when I get really mad that I can make people feel my pain that I felt in the past. Or really any punishment I want to give them. It's uncontrollable as a child. Only later in life am I able to control it. So when I'm mad, it's like a bomb goes off. And I don't think it would have actually killed anyone, but I was starting to give people physical pain. And basically, you know, the elders are like, what the fuck, what are you doing? You're the police officer, chase after her. And he's like doubled over, like, you know, already starting to affect him. And like coughing and shit. And someone has to explain to the elders, yeah, like his back was turned to you, but like he fucking basically ate an entire flower. That's why he can't chase after me. So two other people are like, okay, we'll get her. And so they either side of me grab hold of me. They got gloves on, and I see a glove, and I see some kind of a rag, and it goes to my face, and I pass out. And when I wake up, I'm back in that facility, and he, you know, eventually comes and visits me and says, so I owe you an apology. The elder shows me your past and everything you've been through, and I can't imagine being through all that pain, and especially all the things you should have died from and didn't. You know, basically the pain of dying over and over again. He saw that. And yet you still live. You have to live with that pain on almost a daily basis. You know, all the poison my family gave me, he saw that. He said, I had no idea what you've gone through, and it was wrong of me to do this and test you like this. And I don't blame you if you don't, you know, forgive me. But if you don't forgive me and trust me, there's no way I can help you. And I feel like I'm in debt to you. I want to make this right, and I can't if you don't let me help. And I said, I don't trust you. Leave me alone. He said, well, there's got to be something. What do you want? I said, I want out of here. It's too bright. I don't care if it's a dark dungeon. I just don't want to be here anymore. I want to be free from this place specifically. I want to go back to the tunnels or something. He said, I can't take you back there. I got in too much trouble. Unbeknown to me, he was basically punished. He, for what he did, they wouldn't trust him again with that act, obviously. And because I was a bit volatile at the time, they didn't want me back either. So he'd break the rules again if he took me back. And so basically, you know, they gave him a punishment of about 6 weeks of having to take something that's basically the opposite of Baron Wart, and it makes you feel really, really sick. I don't know what that is, but then they gave him about 6 years of like not being able to eat the flowers or anything on the plant, and also that he has to be alone, meaning like no women, okay, for 6 years. And so he's lightly punished, you know, that's all he gets. But he realizes people are fucking pissed at him. And he realizes that they're even more pissed that he basically brought a fucking magical bomb into the thing. So, you know, it's just, there's no way I'm going to be trusted either. So anyway, that was about the only thing I wanted. I said, well, I can't have that, I guess. I'll go back to my family. He said, look, if I call you family, I legally have to give you to them. I can't take it back. You can't change your mind. They said, we can get someone like us to adopt you. I said, yeah, right. They hate me. They made that very clear that they hate me. You know, so what's the difference? And by the way, no one's going to actually adopt me, so I'm going to be stuck here for life. I'm not actually going to get adopted. So, you know, if both people want to hate me and hurt me, then at least one place I don't have to be stuck in this place that I hate. You know, at least I could be home in my own bed where things are not as bright, and I at least have a small amount of peace at night time, you know, sometimes, not all. So anyway, it's just, in my eyes, it's like there's no difference. I like the place, the home better. But other than that, there's no difference. I assume that they're going to hurt me just like my family does, because I don't trust them. That wasn't true, at least to the police officer and a lot of people there. That wasn't true. I'm sure, just like any community, there are bad people and good people, but I think the majority of them would have been harmless. And I don't think any of them would have poisoned me like my family did. I could have grown up strong. I could have, you know, a lot of things, and I didn't. So, best I know is that maybe I just, that wasn't the path I was meant to take. Maybe, you know, the gift that I have, the uncontrollable gift I have, fighting back like that, my parents did feel my pain, and maybe if I wasn't there, maybe no one would be there to punish them, and their threefold wouldn't happen. And so maybe they needed to feel my pain that they gave me. Maybe that's the entire purpose of me staying with them my entire childhood, so that they could feel the pain they gave an innocent child. I don't know. So, yeah. Probably the worst mistake I made in my life, but it was probably a mistake I needed to make.